this launch of a very exciting new project, and I'd like to introduce Mayor of Brighton Hove, Bill Randall, who's going to say a few words of welcome to you all.
Thank you.
Sorry, Bill.
Right, it's always your phone. It's always our phone. Well, look, thank you very much for inviting me this morning. This is a serious issue. It's one we don't know a great deal about. There has been some work going on in Brighton and Hove, and I've been talking to colleagues from other countries here today and about the general issues of domestic violence, and we clearly are all facing exactly the same challenges in our different countries. We have different legislation, but pretty much aimed the same way to deal with it, although I understand getting the response to the law in some places is more difficult than others. But I'm particularly pleased to be here this morning to talk about this for two reasons. First of all, to welcome you all to our city. I've done a lot of work in Europe myself, principally around housing and disabilities, and I really do believe that we are much better off if we're working together and learning from each other than by trying to do it on our own. And in the course of my work, I've picked up all sorts of very good and simple ideas, and we've been able to respond and give some of ours. So welcome to the city, and I look forward to seeing more about this project as it goes on. And of course, it's already got a deal of publicity. You were on the radio yesterday, weren't you? I heard you on Radio 5 Live, and in fact they gave you a very good slab. It's very good, and I think it is an issue that perhaps a lot of people don't really recognise and understand it exists, and it does need to be spotlighted. I think the figure you said was 3% of domestic violence you thought was probably of this nature, which is
The tip of the iceberg.
the tip of the iceberg, and given the figures we hear for domestic violence, 1 in 4, that's a lot of people. Now, it was, of course, as I understand it, the concern at Rise about the number of inquiries they were getting about this. I think 10% of all the inquiries in 2008 that led to the creation of Break for Change. And Break for Change is a really good partnership. One of the best things about our city, truthfully, is the spirit of partnership at all levels and in all subjects. Brighton University is a good friend to our city and is involved in many of these partnerships. I told your Vice Chancellor, Julian Crampton, that you should have a strapline underneath your heading which says University of Brighton. Underneath it you say a really useful university. Because it is a really useful university to us and the wider world. Now, off the back of what Rise discovered, Audio Active, another charity in the city, Rise, by the way, I beg your pardon, is the Women's Refuge and the service to women facing violence in the city. Off the back of that, connection was made with Audio Active, which is an organisation I know very well, who work with young people with challenges of different natures. I have a grandson with ADHD who was helped a great deal by Adam and his colleagues, who's now doing well at university, so thank you for that, Adam. But the Break for Change involves Rise, it involves Audio Active, but also the City Council, the Youth Offending Team, the Youth Support Services, and all of those people come together to work on this. Now, since it was set up in 2008, it has run 7 programmes, and it's now moving on to its 8th programme, and so far it's worked with 70 parents and children. I think that's a real achievement of which, as a city, we should all be proud, so thank you very much for that work. And what they've been doing is really life-changing for people. They work together with families and children, which is, we think, unique in Britain, rather than looking at them separately. Audio Active is really a music-based charity, modern music, hip-hop and rap. What they've been doing with these children is they've been writing lyrics based on the therapies that they've been receiving to help them come to terms and understand the situation they're in. And of course we know that music is a very good way into dealing with all sorts of issues that young people have. And I understand, Adam, that in some cases you've prevented family breakup and children going into care. In others, you've actually brought families back together, children come out of care. Now the social value of that, of course, we all understand is enormous. I have to say, as a counsellor, and Sue's here as well, and we did the budget yesterday, keeping children out of care also saves us a lot of money. So there is a business case for us supporting this, as well as one of humanity and decency. So thank you to all of you for that work. There's one partnership working. Here's another one about to flourish. I really look forward to following your work, and do keep me posted about it all. I'm only Mayor until May, but I'm still going to be interested and involved after then. Thank you very much for inviting me again, and once again, welcome to the city. Thank you.
I'd like to introduce Phil Haynes, who's head of the School of Applied Social Science, where I'm based.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you, Bill Randall, for coming today as Mayor of Brighton and Hove. Very pleased that you came and joined us. And similarly, we feel very strongly that we have a great bond with the city from the university. That partnership means a lot to us too. And I think, again, this project is a really good working example of that partnership. I'm already starting to remiss, and I promised I'd only speak for 5 minutes, but you have me thinking there about a project I worked on as a young social worker, teaching people to play the guitar and setting up a rock band in an unemployed community in Derby in the 1980s. But I mustn't remiss that. So yeah, the interesting challenges there. A particular welcome to our friends from Sweden, Spain, Ireland and Bulgaria. I'm delighted to have you here in Brighton at the University of Brighton. Thank you very much for becoming involved in the project and for joining with us. A particular welcome to you. Congratulations to everybody involved in the project, particularly to Paula for pulling all this together. I mean, it's a huge task, isn't it, to pull off a European bid and to then also be successful. So should we just give Paula a round of applause? Paula's immediately going to worry that there's so many other people involved, but Paula, you did take the leading role there, so that's why you got a special mention. But also, of course, there's lots of other people to mention. 2 people in particular, Francesca Anderson from the University of Brighton, who's our European funding advisor and officer, and Francesca does an absolutely essential, fantastic job in the university for us. We just wouldn't have any chance at all of getting in there with the European Union project without you, Francesca. So many, many thanks, and for sticking with it all the time you put in. Michelle. Michelle is another... Michelle's another person who's able to play in lots of different teams at the same time. And,
sometimes not.
I'm particularly pleased because Michelle just recently graduated with a Masters in Public Administration from the school. I promised Michelle I wasn't going to embarrass her, sorry.
Was it a fence?
Not at all. I'll speak to the mayor after. Not at all, not at all. And Michelle, thank you for all the work you've done on this project, supporting Paula.
It's been a pleasure doing
Thank you. Bringing lots of experience too. So the School of Applied Social Science, we're very focused on being applied, working with projects in the real world, bringing theoretical knowledge in and connecting it up. So this project is absolutely ideal for us, and we're so pleased that you got the funding, Paula, and that it's going ahead. It's exactly the sort of thing we want to do and we want to be involved in. We have theorists and practitioners in the school right across sociology, criminology, social work, counselling. So this is great for us, and we're going to learn so much from you and what you're doing, and we look forward to keeping in touch and hearing all about it. And what an important issue this is. Remembering back again to my practice days, I mean, so much violence is in private, isn't it? And in these hidden areas, and causes so much distress and so much sadness. And so thank you, all of you, for being willing to engage with this issue and for being willing to help us to take these important issues forward. Also, just like to welcome Rob, who's joined the project as the administrator. We're delighted to have you, Rob. Already looks like an excellent appointment, I have to say. And we obviously with a European project we need somebody who's right on top of the funding and the forms and these things. So thank you for joining us, and we're delighted to have you. So just to say, all best wishes to the project and everybody involved in it, and we look forward to hearing more about it. Fantastic publicity in the last few days, and look forward to hearing more and more about it. I'm sure it's going to be a really important, influential project. So thank you, and well done everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Phil, for those really kind words. And once again, I have the great pleasure of welcoming you all today to this formal launch of this European Commission-funded project called Responding to Child-Parent Violence. It's being funded to the tune of €750,000, which is £650,000, by the Daphne 3 programme. For those of you who may not know, the Daphne programme aims to contribute to the protection of children, young people and women against all forms of violence, and to attain a high level of health protection, well-being and social cohesion across Europe. So we're really grateful, particularly in this time of austerity, to have actually such generous funding to research this really important topic. So thank you again for coming to hear about this action research project, focusing on how different countries and different agencies within those countries are actually trying to respond to this issue. It's a problem that's rarely articulated in government policy. I think when we've been sharing our experiences at the steering group meeting, it's still highly stigmatised and quite a taboo issue for most people. We know, for instance, that Spain has conducted research on this issue through the second Daphne programme, and this actually has led to an increase in work and reports of this issue by mums and dads there. But this is the first kind of research led by the UK to look at how services are tackling this problem. So just to say that the study involves 5 European countries: Bulgaria, Ireland, Spain, Sweden and the UK. And the partnership has actually been selected quite carefully to reflect a wide range of diverse expertise in child-to-parent violence intervention, as well as geographical and cultural diversity across Europe. So, as you may or may not know, the key partners are obviously Brighton and Hove City Council, the National University of Ireland in Galway, the Instituto de Investigación Polibienesta from the University of Valencia in Spain, the National Association 21st Century Rhodope Mountain Initiative, short and snappy that one, in Bulgaria, and Ormel municipality in Sweden. So we have a good range of different universities, municipalities and NGOs. So the main aims are, firstly, we want to look at how our practitioners currently responding to parents and also to young people experiencing this problem. Secondly, we are aiming to deliver and evaluate training programs for at least 50 or so professionals across the countries involved. 2 current intervention models, the non-violent resistance model and Brighton's own Break for Change. Thirdly, wherever possible, and it won't be possible in every country, to maybe implement those models and to evaluate those models. So we're very excited indeed to be working with our European partners. Close collaboration is going to be absolutely key. We will be developing a project website, so we're working on that at the moment. And we've already started to learn the art of group Skyping, which is quite a challenge, I have to tell you. But also we have 5 or 6 face-to-face steering group meetings planned in each of the partner countries. So we're trying to collect data from each country to build up a profile of what is or isn't happening in each of those countries that we're working with. We're going to be using a theory of change approach to try to assess the suitability of different models of intervention. And we'll be using a range of different research methods, observation, semi-structured interviewing, self-reflection tools, and so on. And so we'll be carrying out very systematic evaluations of those two current approaches that I mentioned earlier. Declan will be speaking a little bit in a minute about non-violent resistance, and Michel Pouilly will be talking about Break for Change. So finally, we will be developing and disseminating best practice so that people can take on board a toolkit and so on, and case studies and so on, for professionals working on child-to-parent violence. So now I have great pleasure in handing over to Declan Coogan from the National University of Ireland Hallway, who's going to be talking a little bit about non-violent resistance and also about what Ireland is going to bring to the project.
Thank you, Paula. I think can I just begin by saying that I want to acknowledge the leadership shown by Brighton University and by the City Council of Brighton and Hove in setting up this project. I'm delighted to be part of this project. I think violence in the family is a very serious matter. It's also a very private matter. And I think although we're talking about a serious problem, we're bringing hope to families. And that is so important. Hope to families across Ireland, across Spain, the UK, and Bulgaria and Sweden. That is so important. The families I've worked with, where there is child-to-parent violence taking place, the parents speak about feeling hopeless and fearful. And the aim of NVR and all our work together is to banish that fearlessness and helplessness and create and share hope. I'd like you to imagine the west coast of Ireland for a moment in your mind's eye, those of you who haven't been there. Imagine the Atlantic Ocean hammering the west coast of Ireland. It's a place of great diversity in landscape and in culture. It's a place where Irish is spoken in some parts of the region. And of course English is one of the first languages as well in Ireland. It's worth saying. And also Galway is what's known as the gateway to the rest of Ireland. To the cliffs of Moher, to Listowel Varna, to wonderful cultural resources we have as a region. But much more important for that, thinking about useful universities, is that NUI Galway, with whom I'm working as in social work, has a real commitment to being a really useful university, but we haven't used that name. We may use it again. That was quick. So we have a strong commitment in our university to teaching and excellence in research, but also to doing work within the community. And we're happy to be joined here today by Cope Galway, Women's Refuge, Women's Shelter and Outreach Service in Jackie Carroll. And Cope Galway will play a very important part of this research project as well. I'm looking forward to talking about NVR in a moment, but also we're looking forward in Galway to hearing what other countries do when it comes to child-to-parent violence. That's for us something that we're going to benefit in a major way from our work. A major part of our teaching in the social work programme, which is where I teach in NUI Galway and do research there, is commitment to human rights and social justice. And this is where our commitment to this kind of programme derives from. We believe in the importance of protecting the rights of parents and of siblings to safety in their home, the rights of children and young people to have relationships where they can thrive, and a young person is not thriving if they're living in conflict, either that they generate or is generated by others within the family. Thank you. So let me talk about the Non-Violent Resistance Programme. I call it NVR. It was devised first of all in Israel by Haim Omer. It's a short-term, evidence-based intervention that focuses on working with parents rather than the children initially. It lasts up to 5 to 10 sessions in Israel, with also intensive telephone support. When I first came across the NVR programme, I was working as a mental health social worker in a CAMHS service in Dublin for the Mater University Hospital, a major teaching hospital in Ireland. And we adopted it with Haim Omer's consent, and in our project, parents and carers were the main focus of both psychoeducation but also therapeutic support, which is an ingredient missing in many parenting programs. We also were working with parents who had been to parenting programs and they got something out of them, but found that they did not address the fear that they were living with. I think it's important to have things like star charts, for example, or even in some cases the naughty step, which we heard about from different programs. But that doesn't quite capture the needs of parents living with child-to-parent violence, particularly for the older child. You can't have a naughty step for a 12-year-old who's assaulting. So the NVO program is a systemic approach and a cognitive behavioural approach to the use of violence in the home. And what's lovely about it is that the violence is not tolerated and that the family join together in the goal of ending violence. So it's not changing the bad child. It's changing violence in our family and changing how we deal with conflict in our family. The key components of the NVO program is a parental commitment to non-violence, both in word and in action, the development in parents of non-escalation and resistance skills, the recruitment of a support network for parents by the parents, and also an increase in parental presence and authority in a child's life. And that sounds very theoretical and very vague, but to give you one example, I was working with one family towards the end of our time together after 10 sessions, and the family were gathered together with the respite carer and the social worker. And I asked them all to say what for them made one huge change in how they live as a family, where they were no longer having assaults from the child to the parents. And many things were said, but one thing the daughter said, who was 14, was that she described two things that made a big change for her. One, her grandmother, who refused to talk to her for a year because she was hitting her mother, sent her a card saying, "I'm thinking of you, I still love you, and good luck with this program." So her grandmother, who she hadn't heard of for a year, was back in touch. That for her meant something very important. It sounds very small to us, but it's so important to that girl. The second thing was, she talked about how whenever she met with her father for lunch on Saturday or Sunday, the first thing she would do is, she's a teenager, take out her mobile phone and start texting. And her father would put it away, and they'd have a fight and a row, and she would storm off. So through our work together, the father came up with the idea of, next time she does that, I'll just stay silent. I'd say nothing. Again, it sounds very simple, but that meant that they had their meals together out, and there were no rows, because after 30 seconds, she put the phone away anyway. So they're simple things, and these ideas have come from families helped through the NVO program. What we've done in NUI Galway is we've developed a 2-day training program for practitioners so that they can help parents with the NVO program. It aims at raising the awareness among workers so that they're able, first of all, to consider that it does happen in families. It develops their skills in asking about it and talking about it. It develops their skills in helping parents become more confident and competent in dealing with conflict in their families. What's really powerful about it is it not only empowers practitioners, but it also empowers families as well. It's a 2-day program, it's short and intensive, and the feedback so far I've had from practitioners is that it's spreading gradually out among the West Coast and Ireland. Little pockets of NVO happening, which is lovely to see, because we don't have any service set up specifically to provide NVO yet. So, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Declan. I know you and Jackie are going to have to dash off now to
We're
get
going for a flight, so I'm so sorry to leave.
But thank you so much for coming. It's been really great to have you here. Thank you. So now I have great pleasure, in introducing Elena Marcellus from the Institute de Investigación for the Bienestar from the University of Valencia in Spain. Thank you.
First of all, I would say something that I think that will help to the Institute of Investigación por el Bienestar is Bienestar Research Institute. So maybe that will help. We usually call it Bienestar. And well, first of all, I would like to thank to the Mayor of Brighton for being here, and also to the University of Brighton, and especially to the Social Science Department, and to Paula, Michelle for having done this great job, and to all the partners. We look forward to cooperate with them. Well, Bolivianestar is a public research institute from the University of Valencia. We are a team of 24 researchers that develop interdisciplinary research. That means that we have people from different backgrounds, psychologists, social workers, doctors, economists, lawyers, and what we do with our research is to put together all that knowledge to respond in a very effective way to the social challenges of our, mainly of the European society. This interdisciplinarity has led us to have 13 lines of research, and I would like to explain a little bit how we get into the violence in the family context. As the mayor of Brighton, we had a very strong relationship with accessibility and with the rights of disabled people. So when we start researching in this line, we start working with new technologies. So our team started developing projects about how new technologies could contribute to improve the life of elderly and disabled people. And then we start to identify a strong penetration of the new technologies, especially in young people. That led us to be worried about how those kids were interacting through the new technologies, and we discovered that there was a very big issue regarding the cyberbullying, the violence through the new technologies. So then we started working in that field with our first Daphne project that tackled that issue. When we discovered that violence among children through ICT could be related with also parental ways of educating kids, we developed a second Daphne project that tried to help parents to have a positive approach to the education of their kids, and that also leads to finally see that sometimes that behavior of parents could end in a behavior of kids against their parents. So we really think that this project is going to make it's going to have a very strong impact on the European society, because it's a problem that we see that it's being more and more important in our societies. In fact, we have been talking those days in Spain. There is a TV program that tackles with this issue, and we in Spain, that this is not a hidden problem anymore. We know that it's there, so it's very important to know how to work with it. Our interdisciplinarity has led us to work a lot in European context. We think that it's very important to work with universities and with NGOs and municipalities from other regions. We have developed research in different programs like the Ambient Assisted Living Program and the 6th and 7th Framework Program of the European Commission, the Progress Program and Youth in Action. And we have developed research in our country, trying to always mix all that knowledge of our research team. In this project, what we are going to do is to support the team to develop evaluation, a scientific relevant evaluation that provides the strongest enough to be able to consider our results to be transferred to the European context. In this field, I will follow the project, and especially my colleagues Jordi Garcés, that is the director of the Bolivianestar Research Institute, and Maite Ferrando, that will be working with the evaluation tool. We are happy to be here. We are happy to have the chance of meet you all, and we look forward to start. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Elena. I now have the pleasure to introduce our partner, Anna Asanova, from the Rhodope Mountain Initiative, who's going to be saying a few words about the Bulgarian situation.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you to Paula and the whole team of Brighton University that did so great job and let us be partner for this so exciting project. And we really appreciate this opportunity. I will tell a few words about the region. Smolensk is a town which is only 10 kilometers far from the most famous ski resort in Bulgaria. So it's a very attractive place. And it's not far from the border with Greece. It's the administrative and industrial center of the Smolensk province, which is also the seat of the Smolensk municipality, and includes 75 villages. Currently, the population of this municipality is about 40,000 people, including Bulgarians, Turks, Gypsies, and few Englishmen and Irish people. Currently, the religion of the vast majority is the Eastern Orthodox Christianity, and the rest are mostly from Muslim minorities. About our organization, it was set up in 1989. And in 2009 it was re-registered in National Association and opened office also in Sofia, it's the capital of Bulgaria. The basic aims of the association are to prevent and protect children, young people and women from being victims of violence and crimes. Its aims includes also aid and reintegration of the risk groups of society, to humanize and optimize the social environment for children and young people, and also to establish tolerant ethnic relationship. Other targets includes contribution to the dissemination, promotion and implementation of European values, practices and principles and ideas. Concrete experience that I would like to share with you is that the association implemented activities in the projects in the sphere of civil education, social services for citizens, prevention of juvenile delinquency and resocialization of children with deviant behavior. As I told you, we have carried out over 25 projects. And some of our projects are, I will present you in a few words. It's projects directed to reducing crimes which occurred at schools. For example, I choose Without Violence, which is a model for empowerment and prevention of aggression and violence in school. The project is aimed against violence in school through the setup of a youth volunteer pool, I Choose Without Violence, from students with behavioral deviations, and which support the empowerment of young people in providing a safe environment in Bulgarian schools, as they themselves are actively involved in preventing violence in terms of schools and community. This project stimulates social activity of young people with behavioral deviations for entering in the structure of the school government as a form of civic participation and control. Also, our very important project is the HARE project, which was supported by the Daphne program. The project was led by the local police of Valencia. And it aimed to improve police working methods in the matter of gender violence, trying to give a more innovative and preventive perspective to raise public awareness about social violence, unifying at the same time both strategies and best practices in the police on a European scale. I will say also a few words about our publications. The staff of the association developed and published different textbooks and handbooks, which include education against corruption, materials for teachers' help. Also, we issued a handbook, Tolerance for Everybody, training model for 7th and 8th green, as well as Alphabet of Tolerance, collection of materials to help teachers, pedagogical practices in the civic education, collection of materials to help teachers, and also several other publications which are directed to diversity and identity of the person. Our main partner in our projects is the Regional Directorate of Ministry of Interior, Smolensk, and we are working with them for the last 10 or 11 years, and we have a very strong and successful collaboration. Our activities are also supported by Regional Inspectorate of Ministry of Education, Smolensk, Municipality of Smolensk, District Prosecutor's Office, community centers, and the local media. This English is so difficult to pronunciate. Regarding the issue, in Bulgaria are implemented only projects which are directed to violence against children by their parents or violence against women by their husbands. Cases of violence against parents by their children have been overlooked on the social assumption that these cases do not exist as problems within the family. Indeed, this topic is still considered as a taboo in Bulgaria. Children to parents violence is only recognized by a few NGOs that have been registered an increase of such cases, and mainly met by consultations with parents of their young children. Usually parents feel guilty and think of this crime as a personal question, and they do not seek professional help. During our preliminary study for this Daphne 3 proposal, we did not find any information on this issue, or also any studies and research to be related to this crime in Bulgaria. So in connection with the preparation of the project, we conducted talks with Directorate Social Assistance, Department of Child Protection Smolensk, and Regional Directorate of the Ministry of Interior Smolensk to obtain their support. The following needs have been identified: lack of research related to children to parents violence, lack of methodology for assessing the degree of risk of child to parent violence when children are victims of violence, lack of organized system to deal with this crime, and also lack of system to increase the competence of frontline workers as a guarantor of effective interventions. Additionally, we found that there is no information on European experience related to children to parent violence. So to this project, let's see what we will try to reach. Therefore, for us is very important to participate and to share knowledge and skills between our partners, and to give a better idea in Bulgaria that this problem exists and has to be recognized. Thank you for your attention.
Really well there. I could never do that in Bulgarian. Okay. It's a pleasure now to introduce Ulla Mortensen from Åmål in Sweden, who's going to say a little bit about Åmål and what the Swedish part is doing for our project.
Hello everybody. In the summer 2011, we were invited to take part in the roundtable meeting here in Brighton. And when we heard what the project was going to be about, we thought that in our little municipality with 12,000 inhabitants, we don't have these kind of problems, but we do. I had a conversation with the manager of the social services department, and she told me that exactly the same day she had a report about an 11-year-old girl who had threatened her mother with a knife. And so we started to talk about this, and both Inge and I were on holiday, but we decided to go here to Brighton to hear more about this project. And it was a very positive experience. And we met Paula, we met Michelle, and we met the people from Ireland. And we went home to think about this. And then there's been a very long process for the application and all the alterations and everything. But now we are standing here today. And we have tried to do some research in Sweden, but there is not a lot we can find, because we think this issue is so closely connected to shame and blame. Parents who are being beaten from their children, they don't want to talk about it. And they blame themselves for not being good enough parents, who can't discipline their children in a good way. And there are lots of issues that we want to look here more closely to. We think we have tried all the official sites and persons that we can contact, and now we need to talk to the practitioners. We think they have this information we need. And I think Hogan said something, Declan said something very important, that what we want to bring is hope to families. Because if it happens in one family, it's one family too many. It shouldn't happen, not the other way around. We work together with you, Valencia, in this other project, Be Positive, Not Violent, where parents beat their children. It was also a very positive experience, and now we are trying the other way around. And if we can be of any help, it's worth everything for this. Now, I won't talk anymore about we are talking about this is the official vision from Åmål municipality. Åmål is a way of living. Åmål is life in green and blue. Blue as Lake Vänern. Our vision, the most friendly city in Sweden. And the key words for Åmål are genuine, caring, active, and brave. The last word, brave, is not so easy to fulfill, but we'll try. I would like to show you a 6-7 minutes long film from an ordinary day in Åmål. Let's see if you are you good enough to read stuff?
Yes?
Yeah. Just a few finishing words. I chose between this film and another film, which is very famous for Åmål. It's a film about the teenagers, girls living in Åmål. And I can't even tell you the name of the picture, but it's the F word and Åmål. That one is a very true film, and that's it won a lot of awards for just how it is to live as a teenager in a small municipality like Åmål. And perhaps we'll have a special view when you come to Åmål. And one more thing. Åmål is famous for one more thing, and that's the Blues Festival. It's probably the largest blues festival in all Sweden, and it's been there for 25 years. And for 1 week in July, they are playing everywhere, in the streets, in the cafes, in the restaurants, in churches, and on a big stage. So look at that if you like blues music.
Sorry, I can't hear.
You couldn't hear? I was telling you about the Blues Festival in Åmål. It's a very big event, and it's been going on for 25 years. And they have musicians from all over the world, and they're playing everywhere for almost a week. Well, I'm looking forward to a long and happy 2 years for this project.
Thank you. Us too, very much so. Thank
you.
you very much. And last but not least, we're now going to hear from our UK partners, Brighton City Council. Michelle Cooley is going to tell us a little bit more about the Break for Change model, their inputs, and then followed by Judy with a little bit more info.
Yeah. Hi. Firstly, I'd just like to say a big thank you to Phil and the way that he sort of made me so wonderful about various things. But I'd also like to say a big heartfelt thank you to Paula. For me, the Break for Change programme, which I'm about to talk about, is an incredible piece of work around relationship building. From its inception, it's been like a little baby acorn, and Agnes, who sat in the front chair, worked at RISE. She'd seen that there was an issue, the 10% of phone calls that were talked about. Agnes took it, a little bit of leadership, and started to look at this issue. She also had, at the time, a group of amazing professionals around her who could see that there was this issue. We were in 2008 in the city doing work which was around looking at whole systems around families. How can you deal with violence that is obviously gender-based, and by gender-based what I mean is that it isn't about a man's fault or a woman's fault, but it's about the way society is built in the sense that quite often men are supposed to be very butch and they're not supposed to be emotional, especially in England, which I find really odd. And women are supposed to do feminine things and be very feminine. Now that we all know in this room, and I'm sure every one of you in this room knows that women and men and also transgender people should be who they are and what they are, and it's about relationships. And through the incredible multidisciplinary work of RISE, Audioactive, the Youth Offending Service, the Family Intervention Project, as it was then known, it's now known as the Integrated Family Team, its names keep changing in our city, was born this amazing, dynamic group of incredibly effective practitioners who kind of went, we don't want to just work with parenting projects, which are fantastic, but they're dealing with parenting, and we don't want to just work with young people through young people's projects. And what we want to do is look at the dynamics of violence and use a model based on domestic violence model, and actually kind of dissect that and try to put forward a new way of people, women and men, transgender people, working together in their families. Now, it's been a long journey. I think everyone in the room would say that. But what has happened is that we've, as our mayor has so incredibly well said, we've worked with over 70 families now where we're actually looking at how we can rebuild the way that those families work with one another. And we have the Break for Change programme. It is a 10-week parallel programme. We are not scared to address the issues of sexual violence and domestic violence, but what we also want to do within that process is to have, hopefully, and sometimes money does not allow us to do this, to always have a male and a female person working with parents and with children in two parallel projects where we're actually looking at and going through a programme that deals with 10 different sessions, actually looking at how parents and children can alter the way they are without blaming them. There is an incredible creative element that is part of that, and that is partly being developed around the young people by Audioactive. And it's not really... Adam quite often says, and I'll probably quote him wrong, he says it's not actually the finished product that is important, but it's the process of how young people who have been doing a therapeutic intervention then effectively check that they've actually learnt something from it. The other side of it is that visual image is so powerful. We've just seen Ulla show a very powerful story through a movie, and actually the art of Audioactive very quickly editing and filming what these young people are doing and then actually showing it to the parents. It's often the first time that parents have seen exactly what their young people think of them. And that can, at times, be incredibly moving, both for the young people when they hear the reactions of their parents afterwards, but also in the immediacy at the time in that Break for Change programme. And I think everyone else has said everything in relation to it, but what I would like to now show you a picture, a small movie of exactly how Break for Change works, and hopefully that will help to show you some of the people in this room who are actually part of this process.
That I showed my emotions was the that I hit my mum. And that wasn't the emotions I wanted to show.
Break for Change programme helps families in crisis around the issue of child-parent abuse. It came about in Brighton and Hove because parents and children who were dealing with this wanted help and could not get any obvious intervention that would work for them. A domestic violence organisation, RISE, the City Council Youth Offending Service and the Family Intervention Project, together with a creative organisation, Audio Active, developed this intervention together. What is unique about Break for Change is that it provides a parallel group for both parents and young people to address the issues of power and control head on and with honesty and absolute clarity that there is a need to stop the violence in the home. Also, there is an important creative element which helps both parents and young people to actually use the practical and theoretical information that they have used in the programme to be embedded in their everyday lives at home and to help them stop the violence and abuse that is going on.
Break Change programme is unique as it finds families in a situation where the level of abuse leads to a breakdown, not only related with the parents' care but also the wider family, in some cases communities. Some young people are in care, some people living with friends, and sometimes the parents, and sometimes young people in control of the whole household.
With Break for Change, we help young people to see, to weigh up, I guess, the gains and losses of their behaviour. So, on a short term, they may well get their PlayStation, or they may well get to go out, and they may get less kind of hassle around the house because their parents are scared of them. But then they get to weigh that up against the long-term impact of that behaviour, of seeing what that does to their relationship with their parents.
Parenting sessions are where a group of parents come together to look at different ways of communicating and some new parenting strategies. What we often find in the assessment is that most parents are feeling isolated, feeling very desperate, feeling right at the end of their tether and not quite knowing how to deal with the amount of abuse that's going on indoors from the young person.
I wasn't coping at all, and she was putting herself at risk of being raped, at risk of drug overdoses. You know, one of her friends was admitted to hospital somewhere where she used to hang out and take drugs. The girl died. So we're not talking about, you know, trivial things.
I just felt so alone, so unhappy, and so desperate. And it was only because of my son's really awful behaviour that we got recommended and put through for the Break for Change programme, and we were so lucky.
When they come to a group, what they find is there's a commonality that everybody else sitting in this room also has experienced the same intolerable behaviour. What we try and do within the sessions is to mirror what's going on into the young person's group as well, so that they're both learning the same sort of strategies at the same time. What happens each week is that they come to the group, we have a check-in where they can bring up any issues that have gone on during the previous week, and we try and incorporate that into the session. Then we go into looking at the theory around some parenting strategies around abuse, and then we will look at how they can implement those strategies within the family in their everyday lives. What we do find from the group is that parents gain an enormous amount of strength and confidence from being able to share their experiences in a very non-blaming environment.
One of the really good things about Break for Change is the way that we use the creative process alongside the therapeutic session, rather than just a carrot on a stick to keep young people interested. It's a tool within the process that helps to achieve some of the outcomes of Break for Change. The way that the creative workshop follows straight on from the therapeutic session gives the young people a real chance to reflect and express themselves on the learning that they're doing in the session beforehand.
We're going to go listen to my lap now. I respect that everyone goes, even though I've got many votes, because I'm the person I would love to be. That's why they look up to me. even if they ask me to swear at a teacher, I'll think about it first because I'm my own creature. I'm going to share it in my own way. If you don't like it, you can go away.
With the young people, breaking down the behaviour and sort of working out what they get out of it and what they lose. The most touching moment is when the young people use a cost-benefit analysis to look at what they gain from their behaviour, which ends up being 4 or 5 sheets of A4, but then come up with 1 sheet of A4 about what they lose. And what the difference is, basically, they gain materialistic things, power, control, but what they lose is trust and respect from the family. And when that hit home in the room, the whole room sort of softens, and that gives us the opportunity to move on and develop strategies and bring about change.
Me and Jack are almost hilarious.
Thoughts, feelings.
Yeah, today we've been working on thoughts and feelings and how they affect our behaviour. Like external triggers.
What do you get in your head? What do you do? Red flags.
I've just decided to learn about if I get into trouble with someone, to like walk away and to control my breathing more.
Yeah. The Break Change group work is underpinned by assertive engagement, modelling expected behaviour, solution focused, challenging young people's behaviour and thought process, and developing empathy in young people towards others.
Good idea.
I feel bad after hitting you. I realised and I feel guilty what I've done. I feel bad after hitting you. I didn't mean this to you. One day I might even end up killing you.
You are, you're just flying with the bike as if you were Superman. Just that you can't fly very well, you've got to land eventually.
The film work's really a creative way of trying to build empathy between the two groups. If you like, we use the camera as a messenger for them to be able to share insights that they might have really struggled to say face to face. And that can have a really powerful impact in a situation where the relationships have quite often deteriorated to the point where they can't hold a civil conversation. It kind of creates quite a restorative for it to be able to hear your child or your parent saying some of these things and to realise the impact that your behaviour might have had on that person. And we've seen examples of parents being really touched to hear their child show some remorse for something they've done, or just to hear that they still love them.
What do I like about my parents? Everything. I love my mum to bits. Because she's your mum, innit? They're like your best friend, not just your mum. Is always there for you no matter what you need them for. So you just think the world of them, don't you?
It's because I didn't even think you didn't even. The way he carries on, I just didn't think he felt like that.
They love their mums, don't they? That comes across.
I know you love me, I know you love me to bits.
No, it's nice to know that they've got feelings, that they are aware of what they're doing and they do know that it hurts you. It's nice to know that they do appreciate what you do and that.
In the last involvement we had with the police, they remarked on the fact that he's completely sort of unrepentant and care. So to actually hear him say it, but he probably wouldn't say it to me directly. So yeah, I think this process is really useful for that.
I want my mum to stop taking Lee's side every single time he says something.
I should start listening a bit more and not just taking the younger brother's side so much.
So I hope she does solve that so she can take both our sides of the story.
I never thought I'd ever be guilty of hitting my son, but I've done it. I'm first to admit it now, but it wasn't the right way. And I haven't hit him since we started this course, and I never intend to hurt him again.
She used to hit me and stuff, but not too badly. She'd smack me to get away from her, and then she'd run into her room and stuff. And I guess she'd only smack me and stuff when I would get up in her face and threaten to smash stuff, so I could see where she's coming from. And try and deal with my anger and stuff. Try and show her that I'm not just a ruthless fuck.
I was
hit my mum, and I didn't mean to do it, but like, that's my past, and I can't go back, because if I could go back, I've never wanted to do it, but I've done it, so I'm going to go forward, and I'm never going to do it again, no matter what.
It was really good to watch the video of what he had to say, and it did really pull my heartstrings, I'll be honest with you. And I actually went home and actually really thought about what he'd said, and maybe if we'd had that conversation face to face, I don't think it would have had the same effect. But actually watching it and actually thinking, he's right. That sometimes when you're in conflict with people, you do wind each other up. But actually hearing that and seeing it, but I think if he had said that to me, I'd be like, no, I didn't. Do you know what I mean? And that really, I found it really quite powerful.
My son was living in foster care. He attended Break for Change course. The situation now is he lives at home with me, and the rows are teenage boys' row. We pick that towel up off the floor. Not smashing up the local estate, not breaking the community, not upsetting the neighbours. Actually, the neighbours are finding a pleasure now, as do I.
Well, I'm in a position to talk about from going to Break for Change and learning to control my temper.
It's a real shining example of how services can pull together and look at new ways of approaching problems creatively. And this is a really good example of how, when that's done, it can really have a powerful impact for participants in the project.
All of a sudden, I was talking to other people that were dealing with the same sort of thing, or worse, and I just thought, oh my God, I can get through this. And all of a sudden I had hope. Break for Change gave me hope when I had none.
So obviously one of the things that we want to continue to do is to continue the Break for Change programmes. That's not funded by Daphne. But what we really want to do with the Daphne project is obviously helping to develop the training for professionals. Together with Declan, you've heard about the RCPD side of it. We obviously want to make sure that we do some training. All our partners are hopefully coming in May to be involved in a training, and then we're going to go out and train them in appropriate ways in relation to their areas. We also want to develop with the other partners 2 DVDs, one for professionals and one particularly around young people and how they experience and deal with this issue. And the reason we would like to do that is we're all at different levels of development in the partnership, and what has really come home today is Bulgaria's sort of talking about the issues they have. So that we're hoping that some of this information will help them in assessing the need and what tools they might need in order to develop within their own countries. And obviously for us, it's also about supporting the integration of therapeutic and creative elements together into those other countries. So that's hopefully what we will bring to this. We're also hoping, obviously, through the evaluation, that by the end of the 2 years we'll have an absolutely solid evidence base for the continuation of the work around responding to child-parent violence, not only in our country, but across the country. So that's what we're hoping. And thanks to everyone that helped. And I do want to say one thank you, which is to our international team in Brighton Hove City Council. Together with Francesca, they've been like the backbone of this bit of work. Every time there's been a technical hitch, like partnership agreements and understanding how to actually deal with conversion of the pound to euro, they've been sterling, and I'd just like to thank them because they really should be, they should really be praised for the work that they do behind there. They're hidden diamonds, I can tell you that. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Michelle, for exploring more about the wonderful work of Break for Change. And I hear this is really just a plug, I guess, for what we're going to do next, and to flag up some events that are coming up sort of fairly soon. So if any of you are interested in the training areas, or maybe you know people who might be interested in coming along, we've got this integrated training program in Brighton and Hove, which is going to run from the 20th to the 23rd of May. 2 days training on the non-violent resistance that Declan was talking about, and 2 days training on the Break for Change model. Anybody wants any further details, please contact the wonderful Sarah Fisher, who's at the back of the room, and she will be able to tell you more about that. The other thing to flag up, I guess, is in June next year. Again, we haven't got the exact date yet, but we can put that into the diaries soon. There's going to be an international conference on child to parent violence and abuse in the National University of Brighton in Galway. I gather Galway in June is very lovely, so for those of you who would like to see that, do kind of keep in touch with us, and we can give you more information on that through Declan. And obviously, even further down the line, we've got the End of Project Conference, again back in Brighton here in January 2015, where we're kind of looking at possibly getting the Amex Stadium if we can, and have a big event around that. So just one other thing to say, at the back of your folders, we have a sheet to try to collect names and contact details of people who are interested in this project. So that we can send out newsletters, information, anything that we're doing on the project. Do feel free to photocopy that, give it to all your friends. We want to make as many friends and widen the network, not just across this country, but across all the countries that we're working in. And we may even be doing tweeting. I'm not sure about that yet, but Michelle's very interested. I understand. Okay. So thank you very much once again, all of you, for coming along today and supporting us in this project. And we're really looking forward to getting started. We've already started, and sort of carrying on the progress. And as I say, we will be keeping you all up to date with what we're doing. Thanks very much.